very warm welcome to DevPalooza, a developers meetup where we are set to embark on a journey into the LLM world. Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin, I'd like to seek your cooperations. Please keep your mobile phone on silent mode for the duration of the meetup. Thank you. I'm thrilled to be your guide today through this extraordinary gathering tailored for AI enthusiasts and professionals like yourself. Before we delve into the exciting agenda, let's take note of some important details. DevPalooza is proudly hosted by Analytics India magazine in association with AI Forum for India, powered by NVIDIA. We have some fantastic speakers lined up for you today, along with a hands-on workshop and a coding challenge. So without any further delay, let's kick off this meetup. For our first session of the day, we are honored to have with us Manu Joseph, a distinguished data scientist at Walmart Global Tech India. Manu is a self-made data scientist, bringing over 10 years of cross-functional expertise spanning analytics, software engineering, and supply chain consulting. His extensive experience includes collaborating with numerous Fortune 100 companies, driving digital and AI transformations, particularly in the realm of machine learning-based demand forecasting. In addition to his professional accomplishments, Manu is an active open source contributor. He has developed and maintains an open source library called PyTorch Tabular, which simplifies deep learning for tabular data, making it accessible to all. Today, Manu will be leading a session titled Imagination Unleashed, Revolutionizing Children's Storytelling with AI. During this session, we will explore the captivating world of AI-driven storytelling, and Manu will guide us through the exciting journey of creating a groundbreaking children's stories podcast using cutting-edge AI technologies. We will delve into how language models, text-to-image, and text-to-audio models synergize to bring enchanting tales to life. So, ladies and gentlemen, can we please put our hands together for Manu Joseph?
Good morning. So today, sorry, I might have a few bit of cough and everything because it's Bangalore. Today we're going to talk about revolutionizing children's storytelling with AI. A very good intro is already given, so I just skip that part. You can probably get to the next slide. Before we get started, at least legally I'm required to say this, that my presentation, comments and opinions are provided in my personal capacity and not as a representative of Walmart, where I work now. They do not reflect views of Walmart and are not endorsed by Walmart. All right? So this is the agenda for today. What we're going to do is first we're going to look at, have a little bit of an intro about this podcast, just so that we get an idea about what it is. Or what we're talking about. And we look at the overall architecture behind scenes, do a small bit of deep dive as much as our time allows us to do, and just quickly close out with a snapshot of the performance and the Q&A, and we'll have a Q&A session, right? So now, what is LPT, or Little Pajama Tales, right? Little Pajama Tales is a podcast tailored for children. It has like 5 to 10 minutes bedtime stories, which children can listen while as a routine as part of their daily routine. So before we start, we just spend a minute to just have a flavor of what the podcast is. Is the audio connected?
It's time to transport you to a magical land, a twinkling village deep within the cuddles of the frosty North Pole. Listen closely as a tale of kindness and joy is about to unfold.
Deep, deep within the frosty cuddles of the North Pole, there was a twinkling village named Frostwood. And in Frostwood there lived a very special man. His name was Nicholas. Now, Nicholas was no ordinary man. Oh no.
Yeah. So this is an excerpt from one of the episodes which is going to release soon. But I just wanted to get that feel, as in this is what it sounds like. This is the podcast that is there, etc. And as you know, when you have to have a podcast like this, you will need to have a team of people. Can you go to the next slide? Right. So we need somebody to write the story and the prompting. We need somebody to do the narration. Right. We have excellent artists like Sean Prince and Chloe Woods with us. We also need an audio engineer, which who would make sure that the quality of the audio has studio level quality. And we also need somebody to do our digital marketing because we need to kind of put the word out, right? But although we typically do want to have all of these people, this particular podcast is sort of an experiment where we're saying, let's replace all of these folks with AI-assisted tools so that just somebody like a show producer, probably me or my friend, can handle the whole process without having all of these other folks working with us. So we have GPT-4 handling our story and scripts. We have Lovo.date AI who's handling our narration. We have a tool called Ophonic, which is handling the audio quality. And then we also have ChatGPT for our digital marketing. So I'll get into these, how we are going to use all of this. So before this, go to the next slide. Yeah, so before we get into the details, I'll just spend a little bit of time to kind of like show why it is relevant. So I have a 6-year-old son who loves to hear stories, and like he wants to hear a story every night. So after some time, you run out of stories, right? You don't have anything else to say, and then you keep repeating the whole thing. I was talking about this with my friend, and he said that he has the exact same problem because he has his own son. He also wants to hear stories all the time. So while we were discussing, we thought, like, why can't we just use technology to help not just my son or his son, but children around the world? So if we can use technology in a meaningful way and influence a lot of folks, a lot of children who are the future, it will be a very fulfilling experience, right? So looking at like why do you even want children to listen to stories? There's a lot of benefits. I'm just listing a few here. It stimulates your imagination, aids the brain development of the child. It enhances the language skills. They learn new words. They internalize it. They learn a lot of life lessons because most of our stories are lessons which are put into a narrative. And that is also a huge value add when you want to instill your morals and values to your children. And it also strengthens family bonds because you're spending quality time with your son or daughter every night, right? Then that's like a very, it increases the bonding in the family. So among all the other benefits are just 4 or 5 things. And this is why we thought we will start this out. And podcast was the most easiest way to deliver this to a large audience, right? We don't need any infrastructure. We can use other folks' infrastructure. So yeah, so now we'll probably get APIs, and it also has its own storage, and it kind of has an important element of human in the loop, because generative AI in the current state is not perfect, right? And especially when you're dealing with kids, and like safety and quality are paramount. And so our design has human in the loop heavily. So I'll just quickly take you through it. So you have a show producer, which can be somebody like me or my friend or say anybody who has some ideas about what the show should be. And like even in that part, you can actually riff with ChatGPT and create ideas. But so once you have the input, right, I know what kind of story I need to be. I just need to give a few inputs to a story generating prompt. We'll get into all of that later. But a story generating prompt, which will be sent to the GPT, and then we'll get the story back, or the GPT will write the story for us. Once we get the story, right, we also want to kind of extract a few information and metadata about the story. So things like what are the different characters in it, or what are the different settings that is happening. So all of these things are also extracted from GPT. So we take the story, bundle it with the prompt, and send it back to GPT, and we can get it as a structured output. So we take that as a metadata. And also, if you look at it, like when you look at a podcast format, right, like if it's a story, even if it's a story, you don't really just start off with the story, right? You have something to kind of the showrunner would be kind of talking about it and then kind of ease into a story. So you need a script for that. And that script is also something that GPT provides. So we take all this metadata, take all the story that is generated, bundle it together, and send us a call to the API, and it will generate the script for it. Right? One part is the intro, and the other part is your outro. Yeah, one more thing that we want to instill or reinforce is the morals of the story or the lessons of the story. So at the end of each story, we have like a 1 or 2 minute discussion about what the story was about and what kind of values it is coming in a child-friendly and kid-friendly way. So all of that script is actually generated by GPT, and it kind of goes and gets stored in the DB, which is currently a couch DB, which is a very easy thing to do because the scale is not much. And it resides locally in my laptop as well. So now we take these stories and actually the script, we send it to Lovo.ai, which has a lot of good voices, very human-like voices. And some of the voices that we've chosen for this are more suited for storytelling, but they also have other things like marketing-oriented voices, etc. So the audio narration comes back from it, and that audio narration, although it's good quality, it is not high quality. It's not like studio level quality. You can still hear, if you listen intently, you can still hear a slight grainy noise and etc. Because it's at the end of the day, it is AI generated. But then we have a tool called Auphonic, which does the work of an audio engineer. So you send it to the Auphonic API, it gives you a very clean, studio-looking sounding kind of an output. So now this gets stored in our DB. And also along with this, right, we also, in a podcast, you know that you also need a cover image. So that's also something that we generate with AI, with Stable Diffusion. The initial prompt to generate an image actually comes from GPT, and that goes through the Stable Diffusion. But then we have the human in the loop there more heavily, because the image generation is prone to more problems than text generation. So we have a lot of back and forth there. So the human or the show producer would kind of tweak the prompts the right way to get it. So this is the entire architecture, right? So, so this the interface or the UI is just a grad.io UI in my laptop. Not moved it, but it's something that makes it easier for somebody like me or my friend can kind of use it to create different episodes. The end-to-end workflow, we can do it through that UI. Yeah, right. We can move to the next slide. So yeah, let's look at a little bit deeper into GPT-4 and how we how we get it to write stories. So the entire orchestration. So like I told earlier, right, there are a lot of different prompts that's happening, and there's a chaining that's happening. We take the output from one prompt, give it to another one, get some structured data like your metadata, which is extracted out of it. So all of this orchestration is being done by a library called LangChain. It's an open source library, very good implementation. It kind of wraps around your LLM applications and makes it easy for you to use, and it makes it structured. Right? So basically all the orchestration is done through LangChain. And then when we are generating stories, right, there are two ways you can generate stories from GPT. One is you can generate brand new stories. We can give a few details, and it will write a story for you. We can also get popular stories out of the saved weights, right? Like your stories like Cinderella and Snow White and all. It'll be already encoded in the weights of the model. We can just extract that by writing a prompt. Another way is we have an existing story. We can really paraphrase that as well. And why do we want to do that? Is that this is a podcast, 5 to 10 minutes, which is really tuned for children. So we can take any story, we can give it with the sufficient prompt. It'll make it into a short version of the story, and it'll make it in optimized for narration, right? Like you have pauses in between, you have the dramatic build-up. All of that would be done by the scripting of the model. And lastly, we can, like I told you, right, we can also use it to extract metadata. We have models. Like I told you before, the image prompt the prompt to generate the image is also coming from GPT, at least the initial version of the prompt. So all of this is something that is being done by GPT. And how do we do all of this? So the key is prompt engineering. So prompt engineering, a good mental model that I came across recently is that, so you have this large language model, right? It has compressed knowledge from across the internet into a space. Let's imagine there's a space, right? What we want is actually a particular part of that space. Right? I don't want the model to say some things which is offensive. I don't want the model to say very high like vocabulary which would not be kid friendly. So I need to kind of trim away all the space and get the output from a smaller space of that whole space, right? So prompt engineering and even fine tuning to one extent is essentially doing that. We're asking the model to ignore all of these other spaces or other tokens that it can generate and kind of focus on one particular thing. So yeah, this next slide. Yeah, this is just a code, right? This is basically how LangChain supports the whole prompting. So the key things to note here is that there is something called a human message prompt, and there is something called a system message prompt. So the system message prompt is something which is shared or bundled into the prompt for every call that we make to the API, and the human message prompt is something which changes every time. And how this is being used is that the system message prompt would typically be something which assigns the role, or we assign a role to the model. You're saying that you are this, or you assume that you are so-and-so, so that we are already coming out from a larger space to a smaller space. And then you plug in all the details, right? The story, what length do you want, what is the age range that you want to target, etc. And then you plug into the model, right? So at this point, I'll probably take a small aside and talk about prompt engineering a bit more, because recently I came across a video on YouTube. There must be thousands of them, but then this kind of struck with me because the way that they have formulated the whole or had a structure towards a prompt. Next slide, please. Yeah. So how do you write a good prompt, right? It is definitely a dark art. There's no set rules to it. But there are some guidelines which seems to be working for a lot of people. So you kind of start the whole thing with a persona. So you say that you assume that you are a senior product marketing manager at Apple. So you're assigning a persona to the model, and then we want it to do something. Or before that, sorry, there is a context that you have to give to the model, right? Like, what is the information that you want to pass to the model so that it can do its task in the right way? That's called this context. So you're saying that, okay, you have just unveiled a latest Apple product in collaboration with Tesla, the Apple Car, and received some pre-orders and 200%. So now that you have given the persona and the context, now you want to ask the model what you should be doing, right? One is the task, like I should write something to your boss, Tim Cookie, sharing his positive news. And then you want to also tell the model what you want to write, right? Do you want to write an email, or do you want to write a message? Do you want to write something else, a story? So all of that becomes the format that you're asking the model to do. Normally, this much would still work for your model, but if you want to be more specific, you can also always give like an example of what the output should consist of, right? So in this, it's saying the email should have a TLDR. It should have the project background, some quantifiable business metrics, and it should end with some thanks to the product and engineering teams. So once you're given this information, then the model knows, okay, the output, these are the things that they want to include. And because of the instruction fine-tuning, it kind of follows that instruction. And the last one is also another optional. Like if you want to specify the tone of the language, you can say that it can be clear and concise, or it can be witty, or whatever that you want to the output to be. So once you have this framework, at least a mental model, it kind of becomes easier to write these prompts. Incidentally, we wrote all the prompts for the application, and then we came across this slide, and it kind of related, right? We are using almost the same structure when writing the prompts for the application. All right, and yeah, the link for that is right there. I'm not sure how the shares should be shared, right? Yeah. So yeah, it'll be shared, and then it'll be the link is right there. Good. All right. Okay, next one. So yeah, now we will briefly talk about this tool, Low-Worded AI. It's not the only text-to-speech tool on the market. It's been there. I mean, Poly has been there for a long time, but then I don't know. I feel Poly is from Amazon. Poly output is a little robotic in nature. But then there are newer companies coming up like 11 Labs, Low-Worded AI. They have a much more human-like voices from a text-to-speech point of view. Really, the only reason why I chose Low-Worded AI was I found a couple of good voices which is suitable for storytelling. Because storytelling, you want to be having a low energy and soothing voice. But most of the voices which are currently out there are very high energy, marketing oriented voices. So, but Lovo had a couple of things which were very mellow. So that's the only reason why I chose this. And this has, and of course there is a human in the loop to check for safety issues, because the pronunciation of some words may not be right, especially when you are talking about regional words. Because recently we did an episode about a story about Diwali, and AI struggled really to get the word Diwali right, and things like jalebi and gulab jamun, it slaughtered. So eventually I removed those words because it was not getting right. But then again, with some tricks, you can get some things to work, right? You change the spelling. Like instead of saying D-I-W-A-L-I, you say D-E-E-W-A-L-I or L-E-E. You try different pronunciations to get it right. But then, yeah, I mean, the AI is trained on English and not Hindi. So yeah, so that human in the loop check is going to be there. And you can use this in both ways, web UI as well as API. All the players, right? It's not something unique for them. Yeah, we can go to the next slide. Yeah, so along with the content of the story and the narration, we also want images to be generated for many cases. The most prominent use case is the cover image of the podcast, which needs to be there. And that's something that is coming from Stable Diffusion. So all the images that you see in this slide is also from Stable Diffusion. So the starting image prompt is generated from the GPT, but we kind of iterate on top of it to get a better ones, right? Because in the image generation lingo, they call it artifacts. So when you generate something, you can see something weird, some face will be squished and things like that. Yeah. So that's very difficult to get over. So you kind of keep changing the different prompts to get things which are not there. There are negative sampling and negative words that you can give to encourage not to do that. But it is again like it is a dark art, right? You need to try a lot of things. But one trick that you can use to get like similar looking images is that like if you look at all the images that I've shown, right, it has a same kind of a vibe, right? You have like something warm and cuddly, soft colors. You have some stars and magic and all of those. So that is something that you can maintain by using prompts. So when you have a prompt, let's say the first image that you generated, so you have some parts of that prompt carried forward, right? You keep the same prompt and keep editing a few lines so that you get different images, but in the same image language, and which is really important because you don't want all of your illustrations to come out like very randomly different and all that, right? It is sort of like a template. So like the main image that I have a few things in there. So I have all of the images and the feel, I kind of remain the same, and I change like what I want. Instead of a girl sitting on the couch, I can move it to family or parent reading it. So then it will still create a new image, but in the same design language. Yeah. So yeah, that's Stable Diffusion. You can go to the next slide. And this is the Auphonic, right? They themselves call them as an AI sound engineer. This is just a screenshot from their site. They have a lot of different features. I'm not going to go through all of them, but mainly the one that I use a lot is noise and reverb reduction. and loudness and some cleaning activities, which they have a lot of other options as well. Sorry? Reverb as in when you talk, sometimes a slight echo comes in, right? Reverberation, yeah. So yeah, they also have a good API integration, so you can just send and we'll get an output out of it. All right. So yeah. Finally, we have ChatGPT, which is our digital marketing and consultant. So like if given the right information and context, right, ChatGPT can be a very good partner for your things. So like there are different ways you can use this, right? Suppose in the beginning phases, if you want to get more ideas, right, or suppose I'm planning a new season, I want to get ideas, right? I can actually riff with ChatGPT to get some ideas and then kind of talk about it, etc. So this kind of like. Otherwise, recently we did a season. The current season is about holiday stories, holiday themed stories from around the world. So normally it would take me a lot more time because I would have to go search through Google, find out different holidays in different countries, and then find the stories which are related to them, and then get the whole thing done. But with ChatGPT, that process becomes very smooth. I can kind of talk to them. It will do the hard work of searching in its own database and get the answer. And then I can make my own call, right? At the end of the day, human judgment will be there. So at my own call to get the programming right. And it can also act as a content generation tool. Like if I want to have some post on social media, I can actually ask ChatGPT to say that, okay, this is what I want to do. This is just an example. It's too small to read, but I can ask it to generate a script for a short or a reels that I want to have. I know that I'm going to say that I'm going to start off with this thing that I'm something, and I'm just asking the model to just complete it, and in a particular fashion, in a particular way, right? And this model does it perfectly. It gives you an answer. But the good thing about that is, if you're not satisfied with the answer, you can just ask it to change it, right? If I want this changed to something else, I can just tell the model or tell the ChatGPT, this is not right. I want this also. I want to include the link. It'll just give you the link and the entire thing. So it kind of saves a lot of time in you writing the content which suits the whole mood of the whole thing, etc. So what I have is basically a ChatGPT. You have different chats, right? Different chats. So you have a chat which is initialized with the right role. Like I've told ChatGPT that you are assuming this role, and this is all the things, and all the discussion that's happening is in that same thread. So that whenever, if I want to refer to something which I've done long time ago as well, I can still do that. I can just say that, like I told you last time, you need to do this, and it'll remember that, and then it'll start doing it. So it's a very helpful kind of a tool. Although at the end of the day, posting to social media is still something that we do manually, but the content generation and the idea generation is greatly accelerated by this. Yeah, I think that's probably the last slide, I think, right? Oh yeah, sorry, there's one more, I forgot. So yeah, we launched this as an experiment because we also wanted to know whether people would be accepting of something which is totally AI generated. Right? So in none of our promotions or marketing language, we've not used AI anywhere. So now probably we will start using because the experiment's done. So it is, right now it is, we have listeners in 19 countries. Most of them are in India, because all of our friends are in India. But there's a lot of people from North America, Netherlands, UK, Belgium, Denmark, even Tanzania. So when you see that the podcast is being streamed in a lot of different places, we get that fulfilling feeling, right? We get something which is being used a lot of places, and probably a lot of kids are listening to this podcast, and which gives us a little more drive to move forward. Yes. Yeah, thank you. I think we can. Yeah, this is. Oh, sorry. This is the QR code if you want to scan and subscribe, and let's check this out. But yeah, questions and anything. It's not a startup. It's non-profit podcast. Yeah. So currently, although the low-code AI and other people are supporting other languages, we've not got into that regional phase yet because we wanted to keep it a little global. Like we wanted the audience to be across the world. But we do have a little bit focus on India now because we have a lot of listeners. So something like the next season, probably something like stories from India, right? We have a lot of stories within our mythology and folk tales. So something like that. But apart from that, not any immediate plans to do it very regionally. Oh, yeah. One funny excerpt is that I was talking about the problem with Diwali earlier, right? So if I use an Indian accent voice from Lovo, it gets all the words right. But it's just that I don't use the voice because it's not a very soothing voice. It was a very harsh voice. But yeah, so it's not something that you can't do it. It just needs the right kind of training to get it.
Thanks a lot for this talk. And no offense to people who don't like Virat Kohli, but what's with Virat Kohli, he makes difficult things very easy.
Okay.
So all that you have explained in a very, very simple way and such a good outcome.
Thank you.
Only quick question is that like you are using a lot of products, right?
Hmm.
Robo, Skip, and ChatGPT itself. So when you are using it in a production environment, where you are using it, so are you having to talk to a different organizations to provide these products, or how you are picking up which version you are picking up and stuff like that?
Okay. So you're talking about which version of the model should be used, that kind of thing, or like?
Yes, for example, ChatGPT itself.
Uh-huh.
GPT code.
Hmm.
GPT code on which you are releasing a podcast. So does that require any further, kind of a talk with OpenAI or anything like that?
No, it's not. It's not because the API is not free to use, but it is open to use, right? Even for commercial purposes. So like this is not a commercial venture, but even if I'm using for a commercial venture, I can still use it because that license. Yeah, all I need to do is pay the money. Um, yeah, so Auphonic has a free tier for up to 2 hours a month. But all the others are, yes, paid. But it's not that costly because otherwise I wouldn't be doing this as a side project. So. Right. So right now it's in my laptop, but eventually, yeah, we'll have to move to cloud.
Wonderful initiative, Manoj.
Thank you.
Actually, the kids side is like very less people will touch it because nowadays if you look at everybody is home. No? We do not know how do we engage them, right? So either they take a mobile or they not finding the right place to play also. They don't know how to play and all. Then stories comes in a good way to teach them. It's a kind of entertaining as well as not teaching them a moral, right? So that is missing nowadays. And there are less artists and there is a lot of cost involved in that. But I think you are bringing a right mixture where using the technology to bridge the gap. I give you the right stories with the less cost and then more enhance the way. So hats off.
Thank you.
Grow bigger and bigger. More people across the globe will enjoy this.
Thank you.
Just to add to Anand's point, and I think this is exactly that's what I was trying to say. And you made it look so simple, that's what I really love about it. It's all very transparent. But as Anand said, right, I mean, one thing that I was thinking, I have a kid who is in 6th standard. How to make him sit and read a story? So one input, just like, just because we are here, sort of. These people, you can see that what the kids of today are, hooked on already. They're hooked on to BTS, they're hooked on to, other NIE. So if the starting image or something can, attach to that within the context of prompt. So this is just a thought. So they get engaged. Okay, this is about that 9 character or something. And then it
Got it. Got it. Yeah. No, it's a valid point. Yes. Um, just one thing is, right now the podcast is sort of the age group that we're targeting is like 7, 6, 5, 4, like toddlers and right out of toddler stage, because the stories are also like that, right? It's not something that a slightly grown-up kid would enjoy. It's a 2-minute story. Things like the first season was mainly about fairy tales like Cinderella, Snow White, and all of that. And even the current season is about holiday stories, some legends, but still told in a kid-friendly way, right? Something as a conversation or something like that.
There's a big sell there because psychology basically says that within 3 to 7 years, a person builds his psychology for his life.
Yeah.
So I think there's a big sell there.
Yes, yes. And one other thing that we also want to do is move kids away from screens. And that's why we chose podcast as a platform and no video or anything like that. So that's, like, we believe that kids, at least in the kids phase, they should not spend a lot of time with screens. They should be exploring the world and stories. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Manu, for that engaging session. I think Anand and Samarth concluded the session beautifully with what we all wanted to say. So thank you so much, Manu, for this initiative and for this session. Moving on to our second session of the day, it's a pleasure to introduce Rizurek Saha, Head of Product Automation and Generative AI at Yellow.ai. Rizurek brings an impressive 13 plus years of experience in product development and strategy. His expertise extends to successfully launching multiple new products and scaling them up. Currently, he holds the position of Head of Product for CX Automation Products and the core platform of Natural Language Understanding, LLMs, and Generative AI. Today, Rizurek will be leading a session titled Unleashing the Power of LLMs, Real-World Business Transformations. During this session, we will uncover how LLMs are reshaping the business landscape in our latest exploration. Get ready to delve into practical applications, success stories, and tangible impacts that LLMs are making across industries. From revolutionizing customer interactions to optimizing decision-making processes, we will embark on a journey through the real-world business transformation powered by LLMs. Without further ado, can we please put our hands together for Rizurek?
Thank you for the generous introduction. So I do want to start by saying that you will have at least one new listener today. My son is 8 years old, and I found the problem we are solving very relatable for him, and especially mythology and some of that. It excites him. He keeps talking about Ramayana. He knows more about Ramayana than I do by this point. And so I have already written to my wife that we need to check out that podcast. So it's a really good one. All right. So now my session will be slightly contrasting. It is more business and numbers and metrics and whatnot. All right. So let's get started. Yes, the usual thing. I think we can move to the next slide. Yeah. So I think the usual disclaimer, every opinion or whatever I am sharing, it's my learning, my understanding, and does not represent any organization that I work for or have worked for earlier. Right? Although I have used a lot of the content that I used to pitch to our customers, I have kind of removed some of the whatever, company specific info. All right. Let's start. So I think you have already done it. You have already explained what is LLM and how it is more powerful, right? I think I try to take some of these examples. I'll give you, I'll let you read these two sentences. So if you have read the two sentences and I ask you what does it refer to here, you will say trophy. And if I ask you what does it refer to here, you will say suitcase. This is not grammar, correct? This is not grammar, this is not a rule. This is how we interpret language, human beings, right? So this kind of, technically the problem it is solving is contextual attention. That is based on what is coming later, the ability to understand what does it refer to. So this kind of ability, while natural language understanding, NLP and NLU engines have existed forever, this kind of ability to contextually understand what is meant is new for LLMs, right? And I'm only focusing on what is new. This is not the only thing that is new. While a lot of focus, again, in the narrative that is being given, oh, it understands ChatGPT and it is able to generate stuff. Two key things, reasoning and creativity. For business applications, especially reasoning, the ability to reason, because what do human beings do? If you look at most of the jobs that we do, we process certain inputs, as in we take certain inputs, we process it using our reasoning, and then we perform certain actions as part of our. The ability to reason through a model is completely new. And creativity also, I think you have already, I think the Manu has already given enough examples of creativity, so I don't need to speak about it. But you think of something like this, summarize key points from this book. It is not just creating, it is not just generating the next token. What is key point and what is a non-key point? It's a reasoning engine that is there, right? Act as a sales assistant, right? So I think all of us, actually while you were giving the talk, I got SMS from Bajaj Finance that they have approved a personal loan for me already, and I just need to call on. So actually a lot of those interactions which were handled by people earlier, if I actually call, are now being handled by our bots, because they are acting as a sales assistant. And if I ask them certain logical questions, they are able to use the reasoning engine within some of these LLMs and produce an answer. Let's move on. Yeah, so I want to make this more interactive and more kind of example focused. So one example I gave already, Bajaj Finance. This is another example. So imagine booking.com, right? If it had a chat bot, right, and someone went and said that I am getting a cheaper room in the same hotel on another website, cancel my booking, right? There were three options. One option is this: I don't understand what you said, can you repeat? Because that intent is not configured. There has to be some cancellation intent that has to be configured. Second is that it will hand over to a human agent, where the agent will come and help you cancel the booking. And the third option is there may be a flow that is configured that gets triggered on this intent, and that flow will have certain APIs, the cancellation API configured beneath it. It will hit that API, it will cancel the booking. Let us reimagine the same thing with the power of LLMs. After LLM, next slide. Yeah. Here you can go and configure rules that if a user comes to cancel a booking, ask them for the reason, which it does already. If you have ever cancelled any hotel booking, you have to give a reason mandatorily, right? So this is not a new thing. And if the reason is that they got a better deal somewhere else, try to retain them by offering discounts or complimentary breakfast or whatever, and you can write rules, business rules, that maximum discount allowed is whatever, 10%. Maximum 2 complimentary for 2 people, okay, or for 2 days, 2 nights, whatever. You can configure these rules, and in the runtime, based on whatever rules you have configured, the bot will try to convince the user and retain the user. And if your reason is something else, where the bot understands that, okay, there is no point giving this guy a coupon, it will not give a coupon, and it will go ahead and cancel, right? So these kind of things, the same problems can be solved much, much better using the power of LLMs, particularly the reasoning capabilities of LLM. Again, here it is taking a decision to do certain thing here and a decision to do a certain other thing here. Let's go on. So now that I explained what are the new capabilities, particularly focusing on the reasoning abilities, so how do we have a framework to think of new applications, right? So this is just a framework. Again, this is nothing perfect. This is, I have said, not exhaustive. This is not just exhaustive. This is also not perfect. This is also, this is just a starting point where I have started. I think this will evolve and it will change completely over a period of time. data is, think of anything that you can think of, tabular form. If you can think of it in a tabular form, it is probably something that you can structure, right? Your SQL queries and Excel and whatever, right? Product information catalog, user activity data, these are structured data. And unstructured data is what, like Manu, you are dealing with, right? It is free form and stories, documents, website content, whatever, right? And the kind of output that you have to produce, again, if Manu's this thing is here, you are operating here, correct? Because it is highly creative. But let's say customer support, some of these, you don't want your customer support agents to create facts. You want them to stick to facts, right? If someone asks you what is the interest on a personal loan that you are going to get from HDFC Bank, you don't want that answer to be highly creative. You want that answer to be absolutely factual, right? So output and input, and we can move. Yeah. So move. Yeah. Next. Thank you. So broadly, three kinds of applications. I think again, top right, Copilot for everything. So in a way, what you showed is like a Copilot for a podcast creator, right? And that is why you were stressing on the human in the loop kind of part of it, right? Because the final quality, whether it is a marketing campaign, you will help it generate, and I saw you wrote heavily human in the loop in one of your slides, correct? So marketing campaign, content creation, coding also, I think most of us may be using GitHub Copilot, right? Those kind of applications fall into Copilot for everything. Every employee in every company will get a Copilot over the next 5 years. I think this is kind of a given. Where, and this is also because it is such a big and obvious opportunity, all the big techs are focused. This is where I am focused personally, automate extensively. Because I think that, while human beings, we are very good at certain things still much, much better, I think we are not very good at instruction adherence. Human beings, no matter how much instructions you give me, I will try to do my own thing in a way, like all humans have this nature. Right, so I think wherever you want to automate extensively and ensure very high level of instruction, even LLMs are not 100%, but often competing at the same level, right? So legal assistance, private tutor. So I have actually built a private tutor for my son using OpenAI assistants, this thing. Because he asked me a lot of questions. Today morning he was asking me about Gautam Buddha and whatnot. I just asked him, okay, I have to go for this, you can chat with this. And he knows how to type slowly, right? So like this, Q&A applications. This is a very common thing. I think Walmart, anyone will have done this, that upload your documents and get this, right? So I think simple Q&A applications, customer support. And I also want to talk a little bit about this Elevate experience. I think this is something that I know like Google is working on. I know Microsoft is also working on. I think, so what you will see, so if I take Walmart only, right? So Walmart has certain categories like t-shirts, for example, which is very easy. Walmart will also sell a lot of very complicated categories. Or maybe let's take IKEA. IKEA is someone who is doing a pilot with us, right? So furniture is a very complicated category where it is not so easy that if you want, let's say, a TV unit, not all TV units are the same. You want to know your TV unit is made of wood or whatever. There is a material there. There is a size there. There is a color there. There is a height. There is lots of things. So there you need consultation, not just search. If you try to go on to IKEA's website and search for a TV unit, you will probably not get the right one. You have to go physically, check it out, understand. You have to talk to someone to zone in on which this one TV unit you really want. And I think given a product catalog, it's like talk to my data. Given a product catalog, you can talk it. I want a TV unit that is my TV is 53-inch or whatever, 43-inch, 55-inch. It needs to be, my house is white color, my room is white color. You can say things like this. It will understand how to translate that into mobile number on their website, only 20 people go on to book a test drive. And after test drive, obviously the conversion to sale is very high. For the rest 80%, they sent a WhatsApp campaign. Okay. And in the WhatsApp campaign, they put a sales assistant that, okay, you try to convince the customer to book a test drive. That was the success criteria. People had all sorts of questions. Like, okay, how does this bike compare with that bike? What are the safety features of this bike? Can you give me a test drive at my home? I know you give test drive for cars at home. Can I take a test drive for a bike at home? People have all sorts of questions which the bot is able to answer, and roughly, I am not sharing here the exact numbers, but much more than 20% of the people who chatted, not of the 80% or 20%, of the people, like I think 10% of the audience engaged with the bot, and then 2% of them, and then 20% of them kind of. So overall 80, may say 2 got converted into a new kind of booking for them, which obviously it has business benefit, because out of the 20, so 10% extra bookings overall for them, right? So 10% increase in business for them. So next one, yeah. And this is like a summary. I think this is the last slide. This should be the last slide, right? Yeah. I will just stop here. I think I spoke about sales assistant. I spoke about product queries. I gave example of that. Knowledge bot, I think people understand. And agent assist is where we give the same abilities to the agent to answer queries. I have taken out some of the numbers here, but if you want to ask, you can ask. I can share what kind of impact this is creating. Yeah, hallucination, correct, yes. So, yes. So, what we have done is, what we have realized is that for knowledge bot especially, so hallucination is a problem everywhere, but for this, the sensitivity is very higher, okay. So for that, we don't use GPT, or we don't use anything from OpenAI. I mean, we use the embeddings API from OpenAI, but embeddings API is fine. I create embeddings and I do a embedding search. What we have done is we have implemented a RAG pipeline, and we are very early in this. We implemented a RAG pipeline back in January of this year. Because search is retrieval, and retrieval is always fact-based, right? So we implemented a RAG pipeline, and there the answer generation from the retrieved data, answer generation ke liye we have created our own model. So like you mentioned that fine tuning, I think you gave this mental model that you don't access these parts, only access these parts of this thing. So we have fine tuned based on Llama 2, our own model, where we have, it is LoRa, right? LoRa technique. So only the outer layers we have modified the weights, and that helps us retain the reasoning capabilities while suppressing the creativity capabilities. So I have over 60, so I am telling October end numbers, November end numbers I will get in the next week. October end, we had 65 bots live overall across first 3. This is, I don't consider a bot. This is first 3. 65 bots live, answering over 1.5 million queries live. 1.5 million answers are getting, more questions are going, sometimes it doesn't answer. Out of which this one is doing 500,000, and not even one customer has complained about hallucination yet. Temperature parameter helps you to reduce it, but does not help you eliminate it. So Bajaj Finance said that if a customer asks what is the interest rate for a loan, 1 million times the answer has to be right. 1 million times I cannot. Then we have a bot in US for Marlboro. I will give an example. Marlboro in US, they have different brands. One is a nicotine patch. Right. So by regulation, the bot cannot say the word flavor. If someone asks you what are the flavors, it has to answer varieties, and it is a legal requirement. So you can use generative AI, non-generative, they don't care. It is legal requirement. So what I do is I have a post-processing pipeline. After the answer is generated, also there is a post-processing pipeline where again business-specific rules can be configured. So there I do like word replace and rephrasing. But if the answer is generated in a way flavors and varieties, then I cannot do a blind replace. I cannot say varieties and varieties. So I have to be grammatically correct and all of that. So there is a post-processing pipeline and all of that which we have built over time. But essentially that is what we do. I don't use OpenAI. It is our own model. We have fine-tuned using Llama 2. We have created our own model for this. Yes, AWS. We are hosted on Bedrock as well as on SageMaker. I think our model is listed on SageMaker now, so you can find us on there. 13 is what we have found more useful than 7B. We started with 7B. Yeah. Yeah.
Have in the pipeline, right? So once you build a pipeline, there is always an evaluation. You won't get the answers like 100% correct.
Yeah.
So is there something you come
the feedback which we are finding a lot valuable. What we have seen typically for, I know the Marlboro case, like 80% of the questions that were given by the client found a correct answer from the model. Roughly 15% did not find any answer. The model was not able to answer them, and 5% they said like, okay, it's okay. I mean, it's partially correct, not ideal, is what they said.
Okay.
But that is a slightly optimistic case. For other clients, the numbers are lower than 80%.
Lower than 80% would be again a question mark, right? So any of the models or any of the, like in technicality, we can come up with. So recently I was reading one paper like regarding this self-critic. So they come up with something called as assistant ranking, where it can reduce or it gives 99% of accurate answers. Like 80% is again it's less, right? 99% accurate. So is there like there are in the real world they have implemented it, or I just want to know is it just in the papers or?
I'm not so technical to probably the right person to answer that question. I'm more on the product side. We are nowhere near 99% accuracy. This much I can tell you honestly. Because what has happened is that one of the things that you have to understand in the pipeline, the first stage is always creating the embeddings. Correct? So there I have to parse the data. I have to whatever data is their website, I have to understand the data and create the embedding. There itself, I think a lot of improvement what we are seeing, because a lot of the input is not website, it is PDF. The PDF will have an image. The PDF will have a table, right? How do you take out information from a table that is inside a PDF, right? So those kind of problems, at least in our domain, we are finding that if we solve those challenges better, there is a bigger uplift in the near term. That is what the roadmap is focused on.
Yeah, amazing.
So actually, just wanted to add to this discussion that was just now happening about a 99% accurate model. So I mean, just putting my thought across as a data scientist that basically no model can be 99% accurate, because any model, whether it's LLM or whether it's normal AI, would have to train itself on certain data. Now, beyond 92% accuracy as a thumb rule is considered overfitting. So that if a model is more than 92% accurate, there might be some problem with its training.
There could be overfitting.
There could be overfitting.
Yeah.
So that's just one point I just wanted to like. What are your thoughts? I mean, it does.
The levels of automation that is there, right? It is at 0 or 5. I mean, industry-wide, right? So I am offering them 80 or even like 70, 65, 70 is easy to achieve, I'd say. Like, so for me, right, the business opportunity is to take a company from 0 to 65, and I am focused on how many companies can I get from 0 to 65 rather than from 65 to 90 or 80. I think that we can solve that after 5 years. I will need to spend the next 5 years going from 0 to 65. So that problem right now is not a very high priority problem from a business perspective for me.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, understand. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Rizarek, for that amazing talk. Can we have a huge round of applause? Those were some amazing sessions by some of the leading experts, and there's even more excitement in store for you. But before we move on to the next engaging sessions, we'll go for a short break for coffee and networking. You may please head down to the second floor. We'll be back here in 15 minutes. It's 11:35. We'll be back by 11:50. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone, from the short break. Our next session is titled as Deep Dive into Fine-Tuning of LLMs. This session will take us on a closer exploration of the nuanced processes of refining LLMs, unraveling the intricacies involved in optimizing these powerful language models for specific tasks and domains. Get ready to gain insights into the fine-tuning methodologies that unlock the full potential of LLMs, enabling tailored applications across various industries. To lead us through this enlightening session, please join me in welcoming Devashish Patil, Cloud Engineer.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So for this session, I'm actually representing a friend who is the CEO of Springtown AI. And I work as a cloud engineer, and my expertise is a bit different from this session, but I'll try to answer as many questions as possible. All the words I talk about today are actually the words from Springtown AI and Dhruv, who is the CEO of Springtown AI. Please. So enterprise data usage, we have various tools where you can store data. There are data lakes, data object storages, databases, vector databases, etc. And Amazon S3 is one of the pioneers in terms of storage of the data. It holds around 44% of the market share in terms of storing data. As we know, like S3 is an object storage. You can store anything and everything there. There's no structural requirement in terms of what data you have. So enterprises, they have a lot of data lying around which they can't really use it. They have petabytes of data in their object storages that gets generated as part of their daily operations. There might be a lot of insights that gets lost. You may build some like dashboards using Looker or Power BI or Tableau, but again, that's a lot of manual work where it's very easy to lose insights. So this is where LLMs can be used to solve that problem and better cater to the enterprise-grade data analytics. So the problem is 2/3 of the enterprise data is unused, and enterprise want to use AI to actually leverage that data. Currently, most of the companies are like exploring how they can utilize those. They are in the POC stages, where they want to see what business problems they can solve with all that data lying around, but they are very unsure about how to actually use those models. Biggest concerns of enterprises specifically is the data privacy concerns and compliance requirements. Let's say you're in a finance or a banking sector, you would be facing a lot of compliance requirements from the government, from RBI or your country's bank, and those kind of compliance requirements and privacy concerns actually makes the enterprises very like questioning the LLMs and wants to get sued, right? So they, with their custom models, they can secure their enterprise data. They can guard against third-party leakages, etc., and lose business to competitors. Then position. So whatever they build will be in their systems. You might have seen examples of recent news where a lot of third-party tools which were built on top of OpenAI were just got integrated in the product itself, and all those startups got lost. So such cases you can prevent your organization against, where you build the ownership of your own software, you have a full control on it and not lose your advantages. You can customize your models, fine-tune your models to build superior results catered to the specific audience that you have, instead of just a big model catering to every need, but not in a good way. Then we have adaptability. So you can target as an enterprise to use a plug-and-play architecture, like what you might have a set of models and set of requirements that you want to cater to, and your applications would better be able to adapt to those requirements and those new models. Let's say there is a new open source model in the town and you want to leverage that. You can build your architecture in such a way that you can just replace your old thing with the new one, and you would be good to go with the existing architecture. Then there are data moderation, uptime, response time, bias, and cost. We'll talk deep about each of these in the coming slides. So you want LLMs in your product as for your company. Again, you're not the only one. You're not isolated in this problem. Everyone wants to do this, and we'll see how we can fine tune your models for you. So data security. You might have seen news about ChatGPT data, users' data being leaked, available to other users. Samsung recently banned use of ChatGPT and AI chatbots after it faced the blunder of data leakage. So these kind of bugs in third-party softwares and can actually put you in a very bad position in terms of data privacy concerns, and having like anyone can sue after such cases. So it's a very big risk, especially for big companies. So this solution will solve this problem. Then possession, again, like I talked about, that it's your data. Solution looking for a problem. That might be a case for some consumers who might be a bit conservative on LLMs and generative AI in general. But this market is expected to grow to 2 trillion by 2030, which is not very far. And people who will be capitalizing on that would be, I think, doing good business. So if we move forward. What are the advantages of fine-tuning? So standard LLM models, like big models, you can see random responses versus Springtown AI. In this one is an example, but it can be anything that you build for yourself or any custom built application that you leverage in your company. So random responses versus accurate responses. Then no traceability. So you can have complete audit trail of information. Let's say your employee is looking for some information from your company document database. So custom model can give you the full traceability that this document exists here and this information is taken from this document. So this gives you full audit trail of where your model, where the model took the information from. And again, like removing hallucinations here. Then on these models, you have full level of access controls, like you built a model for your employees or your customers. Finance department employees might only need the finance data and all, while the tech people might require code help or something of that sort. So you control the access to what kind of information who can access with your custom model, which I don't think you can. You can also use like the big standard models, but again, you'll have to build something custom for R back there. So that is again a risk. Then leakage. Once you have the architecture for yourself, you can prevent against your proprietary information. Let's move forward. So adaptability, like I mentioned, in this example, you can see like AWS Bedrock, GPT-4, Llama, etc. And use cases can range from customer support to knowledge management, customer onboarding, etc. So these are all like plug-and-play stuff. Instead of AWS Bedrock, you might be using Vertex AI or some other tool, or maybe something that you have built custom for yourself. So these things are very adaptive in nature. When something better comes, you can replace one thing with the other, and it will start working seamlessly. So this is a benefit of having your own model tuning architecture built from scratch. Then data moderation. So let's see an example here. Like first of all, like everything is in your own VPC, AWS in this example, but you can have any other cloud or even your on-prem systems. Then secure data access. You'll have your company data. You'll have dynamic grounding on a certain baseline version of a model so that it provides better results. Then you are masking the data. Let's say I want to know information about me. I'll get more information without any kind of masking. But if I want to get some information about someone else, they might not want to share all those information. So those kind of masking can be done easily. Then we have generation of the responses. We have toxicity detection. So before users actually see the data, you can remove the toxicity and sentiment analysis you can do on all the responses, and then only you share the response with the user. And before that, you can do the audit trail on where the actual information is actually coming from. So that users can validate. And recently there was a case that there was I think lawyer GPT or something, which that one lawyer found a few cases which were fabricated by ChatGPT and showed it to the judge. Judge has found that these cases doesn't exist after initially being impeached, and they actually debarred that lawyer because of this. So this kind of information you can't build on a pre-built ChatGPT like model. This is where you'll have to have something custom built for yourselves. I think this is a very small high-level diagram of how you can have the process built for deploying your model, but like data pipeline, then you have select a base model like Llama or something with the parameters with the number of parameters that you want, and then you tune that model and then deploy. So it can be any open source model or something that you have built in-house. So again, coming back to the other four things. So uptime is also one of the requirements of enterprises. So when we look at any other third-party API, which provides us these capabilities, they are down, even if they are a paid version of those. We all know that this takes a lot of compute resources to actually run a model in the background, and it's very difficult to scale to the number of users that big providers like OpenAI has. So uptime and cost goes hand in hand. You want more uptime, but you want to reduce costs as well. But as soon as you try to have more infrastructure, costs will increase. This is where custom models help in terms of, like, let's say you have a very niche use case like finance level model. So you don't want all that big huge large language model. You want a specific model which is built on less parameters and which consume less GPU capabilities, or maybe can also run on a very small number of machines. So this is how you can tune, like, based on the specific use cases. Because larger models, it might cost you $200 a month, but or an hour, or versus a small model specific to a niche, which can cost you just $5 per hour. So this will save you a lot of cost as well, and in that way you can scale better and increase the uptime for your users. Response time and bias are again, response time again depends on how much availability and how much infrastructure you can spend on. And bias is something that you want to, if you want, you can control yourself. Like ChatGPT and those models will have some bias, like they will try to reduce the bias as much as possible, but your use case might want to modify that according to your use cases. So you can calibrate those models with the help of fine tuning. So how Springtown AI customizes an LLM? So they have, this is a very, again, high level architecture where they have a document embedding databases that they have built by themselves. Then they have some fine-tuned LLMs already with them, which uses AWS Bedrock and some other open source LLMs for using baseline models or fine-tuned models. And then there are stuff that you can implement here, like data masking, RAG, dynamic grounding, RBAC, SSO, and content control. So all that you can customize on top of that. The data storage that you have is the S3 databases in AWS, other like just file systems that you might have, and the data warehouse like Redshift and all. So you can utilize those things and have your models customized with the help of Springtown AI. So those are all paid services. They have some free services also, which is this Python module called Springtown AI RAG, and they have this another module called Springtown AI, which provides a lot of free services that you can utilize in your, that your machine learning engineers can utilize in your day-to-day tasks, instead of building basic stuff from scratch, like querying your S3 data. Like you have a bunch of files in S3, you want to ask, you can ask questions directly. If you can move forward. If you query your questions directly, and it will tell you which document this answer is coming from, and give you the traceability. So right now you can see that as per June, how much cash balance this SoftBank has. So it shows as per document 2, which is the name of the document in S3 at the end of June. This is the number that is provided. So such kind of traceability and all you can see from these Python modules as well. So this is a very simple example of how in 3 lines you can write a small query engine with the help of Springtown AI, and you can get the answers as well as the source of the information. So there is a whole lot of things, other things that can be done. I'll share the contact details of the CEO for this, and you can reach out for those things as well. Again, it is not just S3 data, unstructured data. You can do the same via on tabular data like Excel or some kind of databases like Postgres dumps and all. So you can query those kind of data based on natural language also. So they in Springtown AI they have also developed a natural language to SQL engine, which basically converts your natural language queries into SQL queries and then gives you the data. So that can be leveraged for if you can be used. It is, I think, it is a very common example that you can use in your custom application. Like again, when you have meetings in your company, you don't want Teams or Google Meet or every third-party providers to have have all the recorded content and have that data. There might be a lot of confidential stuff, so you can build your custom models and have the summary and like how much everyone spoke in the meeting notes, action items on people, like who has to do what. So those kind of information you can build on your own infrastructure, so that you don't have to rely on third-party APIs, as well as risk your security, data security. So this is a short talk on the importance of fine-tuning your models. You can ask questions on the infrastructure side of things. I would be happy to help. The deep dive into the machine learning parts of how to actually tune your machine learning model, I think Dhruv can help on that. And he will be available to take questions also. So when for any kind of summarizer of data, like you need to have some text first for extracting the data, and there will be a speech to text recognition engine. You can build, again, there are open source models, and then there are paid models as well, which does this thing. I think one of the previous talks talked about some audio-based models as well. So first thing is that step where you get that data, where you get the annotations on who is speaking. You generally, like within meetings, we know who is speaking what, but it's like everyone might be speaking at the same time. So structuring all that information in a document, and then there are a lot of false text that is there, like because of the accents and because of maybe not the quality of the sound, there can be a lot of recognition of sound, and those kind of information can then be leveraged in your speech to speech to text model, and then on top of the text model, summaries can be built. So that it's a two-step process, but that's how that can be done. That is the first step. Yeah. Actually, like this use case, I haven't first-hand worked on, but again, you'll have to give the input to your user, right? The transcription or recording. In the usual recording apps, you have certain expiry where you can delete your data and you have it stored in your own places as well. So that's where you can secure that thing. Data fetching, right? Yeah.
So if I store the data, which is the time series formatted, and I wanted to query certain attributes or the metrics for a certain period of time, and I wanted to see the trend of it, will this library help me out to get out from the largest set of time series data?
I think Dhruv can help with the demo part of it. He is not keeping well on that, so fine. Maybe you can connect with Dhruv for that, and I'm sure there are like 15, 16 use cases that it already solves as part of their free offerings. But if there is something that requires a custom solution, I think he can help you with that.
Okay.
Juvin, you will be able to share the contact, right? Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Devashish, for that enriching session. Up next, we have something very, very interesting lined up for you, which is the coding challenge, Decode in 60, the ultimate LLM code sprint. To shed light on the details of this exciting coding challenge, I'd like to invite on stage Krishna Rastogi, the CTO of Machine Hack. Ladies and gentlemen, can we give a warm welcome to Krishna?
Okay, so just before the lunch, we are going to have this coding challenge, and the way we have thought of doing this coding challenge is open books and open LLM and open ChatGPT. Okay, so they are very simple 7 questions. What you need to do is go to Machine Hack. So you can, if you have a laptop, you can just open your laptops. You can get started with that. Yeah, so you just need to go to machinehack.com. Okay. For the Wi-Fi and password, you can use the Wi-Fi SSID as AIM 4th floor, and the password to the same is AIM at 2023, AIM all small. Not opening. Okay, 1 second. Yeah. So as soon as you land on machinehack.com, there is a post created by me. You just need to click on this link, and this will open like this. So it will also show you a login page. You can just use your Google login or LinkedIn login just to have a simpler login experience, right? Machinehack.com, the first post in the feed. So the only requirement for you is just to give your full name. It's just because to write the code, and I think it's just scaling the. One second. Yeah, but in your in your display, you will see a button over here as run code. If you open, you will see the run code. So what the simple thing is, you understand the problem, write the code, run the code, and go next, 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 and that's about it. There are 7 questions. You can get started. If you have any questions, I'm here. I can help you with anything. To get started, I will say a simple hint as just go through all the questions and then start, solving the questions, right? So you can just toggle between previous, next button, and when you run the code, you will see a green tick. If your answer is accepted, you will see a green tick on the same question. Okay. So yeah, all the best. Yeah.
So we have one more exciting coding challenge after this. I hope it's okay if we can do a quick coding workshop before we break for lunch. So we have Sachin Tripathi, who is the manager of AI research at AIM. So the workshop is titled LangChain versus Llama Index for LLM application building. And he'll be creating a dynamic learning environment, allowing you to actively apply and reinforce your skills. I'll just hand it over to Sachin.
Am I audible like this? Yes. So, so they are recording, so that's why I'll have to use mic. Otherwise, would have been okay with that also. So we'll be doing a session on LangChain versus Llama Index. I hope most of you, everybody must have heard about LangChain, Llama Index. If going up one bit upper level, you will find large language models, right? So the entire idea behind this session is to give you a heads up as to how we are building application, how we are building some sort of querying engine or prompt engineering or something like that with both of them, and we are trying to understand what difference does it make. So what I have done is, I have actually prepared a small presentation, and then I'll head back to VS Code, where I'll show you the code also. I've taken code screenshots in the presentation as well. So later on, I'll be, if possible, we'll be sharing the code files, and we'll be sharing the presentation deck also with you all, so that you can use. And then I have also put up front some resources with which you can understand, and you can find a lot of different templates, because every second some or the other development is actually happening in this, right? And it's difficult for us trainers, industry specialists, people who are trying to learn and study, because every second, day before yesterday, something happened in ChatGPT. I don't know if you are knowing or not. What happened was, it started showing its training data. So if you ask a ChatGPT that repeat a certain word, say, suppose repeat the word beautiful, it will repeat, and it will infinitely repeat that word, and then later on it will start projecting its training data. So all the ARXIV papers and Twitter data, everything was coming up forward, and then they fixed it in like 5 to 10 minutes, they fixed it, right? And then a lot of developments are happening. Stack Overflow also launched its LLM model for coding, so you can go ahead and you can give in the query, it will generate the code for you automatically. Perplexity AI, how many of you know about Perplexity AI? So it's just like ChatGPT, right? It gives you the entire response based on the prompt which you are giving. And they also launched Perplexity LLMs, where you can choose what kind of GPT model you want to build, and you want to get ahead with the prompts. So coming back to the session at hand, we are going to be discussing about LangChain and Llama Index. We'll do a small comparative analysis, and we'll see how they both work in action, right? Now, the entire idea about this started last year. Okay, if you all are aware that ChatGPT is now 1 year old. Okay, and there was a research paper also. I'll give you the idea about that paper also, the name also, 1 year ChatGPT. You can search on ARXIV. So what happened was, between 2022 and 23, there were only 3 basic large LLMs based on Google's BERT and GPT. And in 2023, we have more than 1,500 LLMs, right? So everybody is jumping on that wagon. And now we have got API calls and everything, so you can publish your own applications. You can create your own customized GPT as well on OpenAI if you pay $20 for that premium account, and you can get ahead and create, right? So coming on to this all started with one simple fact, which is large language model, right? So could you go with the next slide? So I came up with a smart idea about taking an image. You must have seen on LinkedIn, a lot of flowing diagrams are there. So I thought, okay, I'll create one image, which will be a little bit interactive and visually appealing for you all to understand. This is a very simple, minimalistic view of a large language model. What happens is, we have a large corpus. Corpus is nothing but a set of input documents, textual data. And we pass it through one pre-trained LLM, where the data goes into the training, and then we apply different adaptation techniques, wherein we have question answering, language generation, named entity recognition, sentiment analysis, and other NLP related tasks. So this is a quick overview of how LLMs operate primarily. Now, LangChain and Llama Index, how they fit in, they are frameworks, all of you, right? And one of the most important aspect is they both can be used to adapt your problem statement or solve your problem statement at hand in terms of application deployment or prompt engineering, etc. Right? So what happens is we have LangChain. So LangChain specifically refers to language and chains, right? So what happens is that LangChain is the fundamental aspect of LangChain, where you are able to connect different tasks into one big block and you pass it on, right? Now, prompt templates, LLMs, agents, memory, these are all very clear aspects that we all are already aware of, that we have some sort of prompt template. Basically, what happens, everybody, when we are trying to pass a prompt into an LLM, we have three important things. We have to give or we have to let the LLM create a context. Without context, your LLM will not be able to answer your question properly. Understanding? So, very small exercise you all can do later on as well. If suppose you go on ChatGPT or Bard or Bing or any other LLM which is available, you type, for example, you type, give me an image of an astronaut. Now what will happen, based on this text, you will get an image, right? But if you provide a proper context, what is the appearance of the astronaut, where he is as of now, is he in Mars, is he on Earth, and everything, the LLM will be able to more specifically generate the results, right? So we have three aspects. One is system message, one is human message, and one is AI message. These three things we have to be very much aware of when we are trying to build our own LLM models using Llama Index or LangChain, etc. Or any other for that matter. You study one, you can go ahead and experiment with hundreds of them, right? So system message is, what do you want the system to act as? Clearing this in the very beginning will make the system, the LLM, adapt to your context. So for example, I ask, act as a language translator. You have to translate English to French or vice versa. This will be the system message in the prompt. Then comes the human message. Human message is actually what you want that tool to do. What type of response do you want to generate from that tool? So if the system messages act as a translator, English to French, I will say that, how are you? Translate this English statement to French statement. This will be the human message. And then the AI message will be the response which you get back from that tool or the LLM, right? This as a whole is nothing but understanding, making the LLM understand the context. This actually is known as prompt engineering, right? So, lot of theory, will not go in deeper in the theory, but I have another very good thing for you all. Next slide, please. So here is it. Later on, I'll tell you how to make these images also. So you can create wonderful images for your workshops or LinkedIn posts, etc. Now, what is happening over here? This is a very broad aspect of LangChain, how it actually operates. So we have the LangChain framework over here, right? What it does is, it takes your raw data source, you give the entire corpus or the raw data source, LangChain fetches that data source, okay? It then performs the data pre-processing and generates word embeddings. So word embeddings, in NLP, those are text, right? We have to convert that text into numeral format so that our system can understand. Our system operates on 0, 1, right? So word embeddings, TF, IDF, Zipf's law, these all things are applied on that, right? And then you create a simple data pipeline which then goes on to the storage where you have the store, okay? Now what it does, what LangChain does, after this entire aspect is completed, you go with the prompt engineering aspect. So you as a user, you have an interface. For example, consider ChatGPT. So ChatGPT client is your browser. You get a simple chat box where, what is that? That is the interface for you. You type your prompt. That prompt goes into this aspect. We have Bob the Builder as prompt engineer over here. And then this is taken into consideration into the LLM, which is operated at the back of LangChain, because LangChain is not an LLM, it's a framework. Okay, it makes your LLM application deployment very fast, and it has a lot of tools and frameworks. We'll discuss all that in just a minute. So it interfaces with LLM providers like Bird, GPT, GPT 3.5, Dolly, all these things are there. And then you get an output back to the interface. This is how LangChain operates. So LangChain as a whole is very good for application building and deployment. Okay. Now, any questions on this? Is it all clear? Understanding? Okay. So we'll move next. Now, LangChain is like that, where we have a LLM at the back end, we give the input, prompt engineering happens, and then we get the output, right? On the other hand, Llama Index is specifically used for data retrieval and querying. The primary difference between LangChain and Llama Index is this only. LangChain is having a lot many tools and functionalities for you to deploy your own LLM models, etc. On the other hand, if you want to deploy some sort of intelligent search application or some sort of query provider or something like that, we go with Llama Index. So what Llama Index does, now this is a little bit unclear, but I'll read it for you. We have documents which are loaded, parsed, indexed, and then it is stored in a data store. Now from this store, query is there and we get the response, right? So at the end of the day, suppose you have a very big database and you want to create one application where you are able to search that database. Llama Index will be your go-to choice. On the other hand, if you want to keep that database at the back end and you want to deploy some front-end application, okay, LangChain will be your best bet. All right? So it is an orchestration framework that simplifies the integration of private data and public data for building applications using LLMs. Provides tool for ingestion, indexing, and querying. This is something which is very important. We have indexing, querying, and data ingestion, right? Can we move on to the next slide? So both are very innovative frameworks, optimization of large language models and their applicability in terms of application deployment. They address the emerging design patterns. Every second, there is some new update going on. And if you all want to know a little bit of trivia, Llama Index, the founder of Llama Index just recently won 30 under 30 prize. He is actually 28 years of age. He and one more teammate of his, they developed this. And this is on a boom as of now. Okay. On the other hand, Llama Index specializes in supporting RAG. Now, most of you must have heard about RAG also, retrieval augmentation generations. What happens is, you can, if you are going to build some sort of RAG application, Llama Index again will be your best bet because of querying, indexing, ingestion, all these properties, right? But that doesn't mean we cannot build RAG on LangChain. We can build, but it will be a bit slower. That's it. Based on the data. Okay, I'm not going to say that it's slower commonly, but yes, data is another very important factor in that. So we're going to move on to the next slide. Again, Llama Index has the ability to store the data. You have variety formats, pull that data into a different source. LangChain has something to do with that data. So storage and what are you doing with that data, that is the basic comparison which you all have to understand. And then obviously you can drive generative responses, you can drive or deploy AI applications and so on. Okay? Now, we'll move on to the next slide. This is something which I found in one research paper. based on the nature and functionality, whatever we have discussed so far, this particular slide clearly states what is the ideal use case of LangChain, or what is the ideal use case of Llama Index, right? So at the end of the day, it's all about your data, whether you are storing the data or you're working with data, right? Programming languages, LangChain uses Python, JavaScript, Llama Index goes with Python. Okay, I've got a couple of resources at the end of this presentation as well, which you can use and you can go ahead and explore yourselves. You can experiment with many things. Ideal use case, LangChain is best suited for scenarios where there is a need for some sort of broader framework. Multiple tools are there. Okay, Llama Index is primarily for indexing and retrieval and search. Okay, so I hope the comparison is clear. In a very simple terms, I've tried to kept it in in front of you, so that at the end of the day, see, it's not about how much detail you can go into, but once you get the basic idea, you start experimenting. So the idea behind is that explore all these different scenarios, websites, applications, and try to experiment with those codes. Okay, for instance, the use case which I have taken for Llama Index, that particular code is not available online. I had to build it myself, but the support was there, so it was built. Okay, I took some days, but it was done. So the idea is very simple: experiment as much as you can, and find the community, the group on LinkedIn, etc., where you get stuck, post questions. Obviously, I'm also there, Sar is also there, many people are there. You can connect with us as well. We will be also very happy to help you out. But then it's all about this learning. Okay, so moving on, the entire case is about what we are going to do today. We'll be building one text to SQL generator using Llama Index and using LangChain. So we'll be making use of the LangChain, we'll be making use of the OpenAI API, and we'll be setting up one simple SQL database, okay, on our systems. And then once you pass that particular database into your LangChain framework and it goes to the LLM, you can write simple text and it will generate the response for that. So for example, if you have a database and that database, I'm considering some 80 million rows are there, for instance, very huge database. Now, sometimes SQL queries get a bit complex, right? Same is the case with non-SQL databases as well. But what if you can write in simple English? Give me the names of the employees whose salary is above 1 lakh. Instead of writing select asterisk and all these things. Condition wise, give me the names of the employees whose salary is above 1 lakh and their age is below 35. Now, instead of writing that SQL query, you can write it in a simple, natural language, text, and that prompt will go through the LangChain framework, deploy, and then you'll get the response immediately after that. So in the presentation, I've taken the screenshots. I'll just go through those screenshots once, but then I'll switch to the coding environment as well and just show you how it's done. So here we have taken a small data set. Just for the understanding, this is a grades data set, very simple data set. There are 105 rows in this data, and it's about students, wherein we have the name, gender, ethnicity, year. These are all categorical columns, as you can see. The important aspect in the data that we are going to be dealing with, we have GPA, we have review, we have quiz marks. So there are 5 quizzes. There is 1 final mark. There is a total. There is a percentage, grade, and pass-fail. Now, this data is a little bit unclean also. I wanted to showcase a bit of hallucination which happens in LLM as well. So what I have done, I have added total marks above 100 as well. And I wanted to show you that when you are doing that with prompt goes with some answer which is not as per what the data is. So you have to CSV, you convert it into a simple SQL database, and then you plug that in your LangChain or Llama Index framework and see how it operates. All right? So we'll go forward. So here is a very simple example. We have SQLite over here. You can go with SQL also. You can go with Postgre also. All other databases. I'll give you the documentation link as well. You can go and you can see the chains. You can use that. That is open source, freely available, so you don't have to worry. Some of the things you will have to experiment and you'll have to code it by yourself. Okay? And the community is there, ever-growing community is there. So it's not that you're going to be stuck on one problem for more than 10 minutes. You just have to go online, you just have to Google it, you just have to post it somewhere, you'll get the result. So what I'm doing is, I'm just going to go to the folder where the data is. I have grades.csv, and I'll be creating a simple database in SQLite. So SQLite 3, the name of the database is grades.db. The file which I have named it as marks.csv. So for example, if you have a file xyz.csv, you create a simple database. We go into the mode wherein we are declaring the table in SQLite. Okay, so the table name, just for the sake of understanding, I have taken the name of database and table same. Otherwise, confusion happens. But you can change this name, this table name, because in an SQL database or in any other database, you can have multiple tables, right? So you can create as many tables as you want. You can have relation in between them. All these things can be there, not a problem. Primary key, foreign key, each and everything. So I am going to be importing the marks CSV into the grades table, and then I'm just printing the table just to check whether the table is created. And the schema is in front of me. You can see I have got the entire SQL query which has created that particular grades table. And I've got all the columns now. So this database is created, right? Now, what we're going to do is workflow. When you are working with such experiments and projects, make a folder, name that folder as per your project, as per your interest. Go inside that folder. Start creating folders and files in that so that everything is kept in one place. So for example, one DB folder I have created wherein I have copied that database in that folder. And I have created the scripts outside that folder so that it is easily available as per the path system. What else I have done? I have also created one requirement file. So when you are downloading the code which I have created or I'm showcasing over here and you are operating, sometimes some libraries might be in conflict. So in that scenario, you can use my requirement file and you can see all the packages with their versions and you can install that just to avoid that conflict. And instead of installing it in your base environment, you can create a simple virtual environment and you can go ahead with that, like a sandbox. So after this is done, here, this is the code. Now, don't be afraid of the code. Code is very simple. Libraries are straightforward. You don't have to mug this code, all of you. Okay. The important aspect comes later. So here what we are doing is, I am going with .env library. How many of you know what is .env library? So what we are doing is, I am having one OpenAPI key, OpenAI API key, right? So I've got two methods. Either I can write the key here in this particular statement. I'll come to this statement in just a minute. So what I'm doing is I'm feeding that API key into my current environment. And that particular API key can be accessed from anywhere as per the Python kernel. Okay? Now what I have done, .env is one very, you can say, superficial aspect wherein we have one .env file. In that we keep the key. So I'll showcase that in just a minute when I show you the coding and Visual Studio part. So what happens is that provides a bit of secrecy, first thing, and it keeps your project segregated. So it's not like you have to manipulate your original script again and again. You get a new key, you manipulate that .env, it will be connected once you run .env. So we are loading that environment. And these are the two codes. If you're not going with the env file, you can simply write os.environ and you can give OpenAI API key here. Okay? And printing, I'm just printing that key, so you can see whether that has uploaded or not. And when you are loading from environment, it should give you true. That means the load is successful from that environment file. Okay? Up till this point clear? Any problem? Is it interesting or boring? Everybody? Pakka? Not tired, na? Okay. So we'll move forward. Now, this is something which is very important. We get our database URL from this. Here you can see what I'm doing is either you can run this line or you can do this. By default, if you have a database set up in your system, if you have multiple databases, conflicts might happen, so you can give your database like this. So I'm writing SQLite and I'm giving folder is DB in the workspace, grades.db. Now, once this DB URI database, unique resource identifier, is created, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that SQL database from URI and store it in DB variable. Here I am declaring the LLM model. Okay? Now in LLM model, we have OpenAI. I'm using OpenAI's LLM model. By default, the OpenAI model will come forward. You can set your API keys as per your models also. It can be GPT 3.5, it can be Dolly, it can be Text Vinci, Da Vinci, all these things are there. Now temperature 0 and verbose true. Is there anyone who can tell me what this means? So temperature 0, actually it is related with hallucination. Okay? So what happens if I increase the value? It can be more. It can be more creative or it can be more precise. Right? I'm going with 0. What does this mean? Context. Okay? And verbose true? Yes. So we are getting some system messages also. I'm printing just to keep an eye as to what is happening at the back end, if I'm able to get the result from that. And now I'm using LangChain's SQL chain. So here SQL database chain, this is coming from LangChain, from LLM, and I am declaring the LLM, the database, and the verbose. So this line is where what LangChain is. We are using SQL chain. You can use Postgre chain, you can use lot of different chains are there. If you go to the official documentation, you will find chains, agents, you will find real case scenarios also, examples, where people have developed, for example, a chatbot, or some sort of web crawler, or some sort of image generator, something like that. So all these things are freely available for you to experiment. Okay, up till this point clear? So it's a very simple example, but very big thing is going to happen. How many of you have seen text to SQL before? In LangChain? Llama index? Not Llama index. Something new will be there for you. Okay, so we can move on. Now here you can see I am running that particular chain and I'm giving a prompt in natural language, which student has the highest percent. So now what will happen, based on this prompt, the LLM framework will activate at the back end. So LangChain framework is there, an LLM, and then you can see the SQL database chain will activate. The query will be generated automatically by your LLM, and you will get the result. And after that, resource will be closed. You'll get the answer. Okay. Now, instead of writing this entire query, you can simply write a simple text. Now, on this example, it's very simple. That, okay, sir, we can go ahead and we can write select asterisk. Why are we writing text? But imagine if you're dealing with complex queries, right? So that is something which is very helpful. Also, depends on the data as well. Your data is very big, just create a simple database and run it. Okay, you don't have to load it in Workbench or MySQL or go ahead with some sort of Mongo, Atlas, Compass or whatever. You don't have to worry about that. Performance, efficiency, etc. is also very high. All right? So, is it interesting or not? And you can go ahead with different queries. It's not just which student has highest percentage. You can write any textual input as per you and based on what you want from SQL, right? So it's not just which student has highest, but you can write which student has highest percentage provided the age is below 20, or which student has the highest GPA, or which student has the GPA between this and this, but not this. You can limit also. Select asterisk, so we write, print all the records and just give me 2 records. You can do that also. So anything, any imagination you have, you can apply. All right. Now, so this is a very simple example of text to SQL LangChain. And now, when we talk about application, you can use different tools such as Streamlit, Gradio. You simply yeah. Yeah, it will work. It will work. It will try to understand. It will try to understand from that and it will give you the result. But at the end of the day, it's all about the context. If it is not able to get the context, it will give some wrong answer also. So you have to be very careful also. When you are trying to give the prompt, you have to be very careful that LLMs are prone to biasness, they are prone to hallucination as well. So if the context is not given properly, for example, in ChatGPT also, you open the ChatGPT web page. Suppose you write that, write a small introduction for me, and you give a 5-line introduction of yourself. You say that I have done postgraduate, I have done this, and write an introduction for me. Now ChatGPT will write. Now in that same window, you write, add this also. So it will take that previous context and then work on the new one. But if you open a new chat, and then you write, in my introduction, add this. Now it will ask, what is your introduction? Please tell me. So it has to be contextually fed in that manner, in a very sequence. So when you are working like this, you can give prompts, you can define the entire context, just to be sure that it doesn't hallucinate. So for example, that same image example, I want to get an image of an astronaut. Now you tell that astronaut is wearing one F1 NASCAR helmet, and he's on Mars doing skydiving. The prompt will evaluate and then continue generating. So there are many free tools like this also. There are many paid tools also. One tool which I would recommend is Skybox Blockade. So it is able to generate 360-degree panoramic image based on your prompt. I'll show you that also here, just a simple exercise. And prompt-wise, what happens. So this is about LangChain. And then obviously we have Llama Index. So Llama Index is having the database support. It is having a service context. We obviously need OpenAI. And then it is having one NLSQL table query engine, natural language SQL table query engine. This is the full form, right? So you can create your own database and tables from Llama Index, in Llama Index, or you can call a pre-created database as well. It's up to you, right? So SQL Alchemy is one of the go-to runners in terms of Python, SQL connectivity and creation. And otherwise, you have PyODBC also. You can go ahead with that also. I am using SQL Alchemy because Mac by default comes with SQLite. So SQL Alchemy is running with a very good handshake. So in SQL Alchemy, I have declared all these things. Now create engine, insert. Now this insert, table, column, string, these are all keywords which you can use to create your own tables and databases. Though I'm not using that in the script, but I just wanted to showcase that yes, this is how we go ahead with. So you can use your SQL queries like insert. You can use your SQL queries where column keywords, string database, data type, all these things are there. Primarily, we'll be using create engine. Again, we are loading the OpenAPI from the .env file. And here, same thing, only one difference. In Llama Index, we create an engine based on our database URI. In LangChain, you are giving the database URI directly. Because LangChain is for lot many purposes, but Llama Index is especially for data ingestion, querying, and retrieval. So at the end of the day, when you cross this particular year, next year, and as of now, RAG is very famous, right? It is all going down to Llama Index only. LangChain will be coming at the back. Semantic kernel is also one such technology which has come forward. You all can go ahead and search. It is better than LangChain actually. It's having a lot of tools also in some context. So there is always a trade-off in computer science. Okay, it's not that everything is good. Again, so we are declaring the service context. I have mentioned a comment also. This is taken from the documentation website. So it's a bundle of commonly used resources for our data ingestion, indexing, and querying in terms of Llama Index. So what we are doing, everybody, again, here I have taken the temperature as 0.1. I'm not going ahead with verbose, not needed. I'm going with 0.1 temperature. Service context, I'll take the created engine based on the LLM. So I am declaring my LLM over here. Based on this LLM which I have declared, this I am taking in the service context from default. So this will try to get the context. It will try to give us a service based on the context. It's an interface, it's a tool for querying, right? The main thing is this. In LangChain, you were using DB chain. In Llama Index, chain is not there. LangChain is having chains, language chains. Here, we have a simple database. We take the engine based on the URI, and we're gonna go with what table I want. Your database can have multiple tables. I am going to go with include table grades. This is a list, Python list. You can declare as many tables as you want. So if you are having a database where 5 or 6 tables are connected, okay. So where 5 or 6 tables are connected, you can pass them in this list and it will all connect. So primary key, foreign key aspect and everything will come into play. You can say there is a hostel table, there is a student table. Which student has not paid his hostel fees? Now give me the student's contact details and the fees is what he has not paid. So the contact detail will come from the student info and the hostel fees will come from the hostel table based on the context, based on the service context which we have created. Okay? And over here, so in Llama Index, little bit bigger code is there. We are using natural language SQL table query engine. We are giving the SQL database. We are giving the grade in this query engine. This query engine will go in terms of response when we are using this query engine and we give our query string. Now query string over here, student with highest GPA. Now when you print the response, you'll get the result. Now, one more important thing. If you have a database of only 200 rows or 100 rows, Llama Index will run a little bit slower. Because it works on retrieval augmentation generation, right? So it will index, it will parse, it will load that chart which I showed, and then it will calculate. LangChain, on the other hand, is faster in that aspect. But at the end of the line, if you're going with larger databases, especially for retrieval and searching, etc., Llama Index is the best. So that is the entire gist of the session. When we are talking about tools and frameworks, it's all computer science. at the end of the day. And there is always a trade-off. We have to maintain some sort of balance. It's not that one tool is very good, other is not. Otherwise, why are we using it? Otherwise, why is it in the market? So it's in the market because of this. So on lower end databases, you can try also. And if you're running the code in VS Code, purposely I took this. You can see the time frame. And if you go to the LangChain one, just previous slide, one more. Here you can see 1.8 seconds. 10 times. It's there. Yeah, it's there. It's there. You can create your own code generator, etc. also. Llama index is best in that sense, but it's there. You can go ahead and do that, okay? So Atlas and Compass, for example, MongoDB, you can dictionary, JSON, you can do all that. So this is base, right? And obviously the next slide, these are certain resources. You must have seen all of them. I just wanted to keep it so we have an official documentation of LangChain. If you visit that documentation, I'll just show that to you as well. So what happens is, first we'll do one thing. Just escape slideshow mode. See down Docker VS Code is there in the Docker. 1 minute. Here. So can all of you see and read? Is it okay? Should I zoom in more? Now is it okay? So here you can see I have got my requirements file over here, okay? And primarily what I did, I had created a Python file just to run everything in Sense. And then for workshop, I just converted it into a Jupyter notebook as well. Now, what you can do is on the left-hand side, I have not removed all my environment and everything. I have taken one simple workspace where I have kept LangChain Llama index, and this is my DB. So if you go in this, you can see the grades database, which was created from SQLite. I have copied it over here. And this is the .env file. Now, I'm not going to open it because it is having my key. Okay. But still, you all can understand. That is not an issue. I'll just get it sorted. So this env key comes here. Acha, one more thing. For example, if you created this, you must have seen like repos like this on GitHub, right? Now, if you upload this on GitHub, okay, at once you're going to get a message from OpenAI that your secret key was exposed on a public platform such as GitHub, and it has been revoked. Okay, this is very common. I think you must have seen it. Okay. Now, there is a very good thing about this also. Okay, so we all are kind of trainers and engineers, right? Now, normally you cannot delete your OpenAI key. If you create one, you can replace it, but you cannot delete it. But then you are operating on an account which is having free credit. And you are afraid I might lose that $5 free credit. How should I stop this key? So simply make one .env file with your key, upload on GitHub, problem solved. Okay. Yeah, so you cannot delete that one key. You can replace it. Create also. That also you can do. Okay. A lot of many things are there, but this is just a simple trick. So we have some adversity, we can find a solution also. Yes, yes. Yes, 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 yes. Yeah, we don't have to do that. But yeah, but normally what happens is when we are uploading on Git, etc., lot many people, we have a sort of, you can say, a hierarchy. So it's good to have lot many things and then explain that context easily. Yeah, you can keep that. You can keep that. Okay. So here all of you can see One more thing, if you are operating on a free account in OpenAI, you are using that API. How many of you are using free accounts, not having premium? So there is a limit also, 3 input tokens and all that. So you have to be worried about that also. So sometimes what happens, you're running the same code thrice, or after 3 times you run it, it will give an error. But that doesn't mean it's not working. It's just saying that after 20 seconds, the limit will be resetted and then you will come back. So here you can see we have taken this, and I wanted to show you also. So here, just 1 minute. So when we run this, so here you can see it has run and it has given me the highest percent. Okay. Now I'm going to run it once more, and I will run it once more. So you can see here, rate limit error. So this is from OpenAI. Okay. They have limited the rate because of free account. You cannot go ahead with lot many. And the same thing is with Llama index also. So here we have the Llama index. We have taken the SQLite. You will not find this particular code anywhere on internet. Okay. You'll find for Postgre, you will find for lot many things, but not for this. And you can see the answer comes like this. So at the end of the day, comparison wise, what we wanted to convey is LangChain is much better in terms of application development. Suppose use case, if you want to build a chatbot, go with LangChain. But if you want to build some sort of search tool, some sort of querying tool, go with Llama index. As simple as that. If you are working on the data which is less than 200 or 300 rows, LangChain will work faster in it. But if you are having a high profile data, Llama index is your best bet. So lot many things are there, and obviously we have got several resources. A lot more resources are there, but obviously you all are there on LinkedIn, lot many groups are there. Keep learning, keep enjoying. Okay, so that's all. I could not understand, sir. Please say it once again.
You are explaining it right, LangChain. If I'm using for any application develop, so I can use the LangChain, right? So LangChain is going to give you kind of like the portal can access your LLMs, any kind of LLMs. We can take both the combination, LangChain and Llama index as well, because index is going to give you query capabilities.
So we have one saying, if you cannot go through the mountain, just pass by it. So you can connect LangChain and Llama index as well. Okay, but that is a session for some other time. What happens is you can take the indexing power from Llama index and you can take the deployment tool from LangChain. You can connect these two. They will give you a very high-end application also. So that is something which is very common. So that LangChain, when we were talking about that prompt engineering part, in Llama index what happens is you take that entire LLM LangChain framework and connect it with the Llama index vector store and all. So that data store which you are getting, that comes into Llama and you can generate the prompts. That is the simple architecture, minimalistic view. So that's all from my side. Any other questions? Anything that you want to ask?
Can I have the architecture diagram as well? So,
yeah.
Sorry, I missed.
So we'll be sharing this presentation with you. So here you can see this is LangChain, okay? And we can simply take this part and we can go ahead with Llama index over here.
So you can use this vector DB or which vector stores we have used it, this DB wise?
Yeah.
Those are the vectors ones, right, which you use it. So let's say it's like in my prompt, I don't want it to give the kind of like more tokens to it. I want it to give like less than 300 whenever, like there should be a rate limit as well.
Yeah.
So how you did it into the prompt engineering, which I haven't seen.
So this, you can expand it. It's another field of study. So here, lot many things are there. So how many tokens you can create? What is the limit? And when you are talking about a prompt, how are the tokens created at the back end? Because when you are running a code, you will see that 20,000 tokens have been generated. You'll see that in OpenAPI usage block in the website. But then you are running it for one time only. How is it generating 20,000 tokens? So that all comes in that. So it's another field of a study. But yes, you can engineer that also in the LangChain framework. When you go to that Python doc, you will find that how you can manipulate that particular aspect. But at the end of the day, it's all limited from the OpenAPI. So you have to think about them also. Some things are not customizable as a free user. But premium users, obviously, they have got some more things because access to models are also there. So each and every model, and then you come with the hourly US dollars and everything. So you can see that page as well and you can set. Any other questions? How was the session? I hope you all enjoyed and learned something very interesting. Most of you have seen it working, but deep down inside, I would say. And it's very simple. You can put your application on Apple Store like this. Piece of cake. Anywhere. 5 minutes. That's it. And you can start earning some money. You don't have to moonlight. It's not about money. It's about training and it's about learning and then getting ahead and increasing my productivity. So I'm not going to be losing my job to AI, but I'm going to be losing my job to someone who knows AI. So I should be the one who knows AI, right? So that's all from my side. I hope I have not taken too much of your time. Lunchtime, actually, everybody is okay going for that. So thank you very much, everybody.